Hey gang, this is Mike with my Real Estate Dojo, and today I want to do a comparison about the different types of closing you can do as a real estate investor. Because a lot of times I tell my students, how do you want to close? And they always ask me, hey, what are the different ways I can close the deal, okay? So today I want to talk about three types of closing. Closing number one is called a title company. Closing at a title company. Closing number two is closing at your attorney's office. Okay? And closing number three is what I call a kitchen table closing. Alright? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you what each one of these are, and at the same time I'm going to explain the pros and cons of it. I guess we're back. I'm going to explain the pros and cons of each one of these ideas. Okay? So the first one, I'm in Texas, when what we talk about is called title company. And what a title company is basically a law firm that does all the prep work, and they do all the verification, and they also sell you title policy, okay? And there's attorneys there, and all they pretty much is just deal with real estate transactions closing, selling homes or land or commercial, whatever. That's what their specialty is, that's what they do, okay? Now, with the title company, the benefit is you get the bells and whistles. It looks really beautiful, and you're gonna pay for all the little things. Like, I just have I have a closing tomorrow, and the fees I'm trying to pull up, they have all kinds of fees that they charge you for, like filing fees, and it's twice or three times more than what it costs to go do it, and this fee and prep fees and so forth. So that's option number one. Now, the advantage is that it looks really pretty. It's very fancy. They do all the work for you, so it's like turnkey solution. You don't have to worry about pulling the deed and see if it's clear. You don't have to worry about the HUD. You don't have to worry about prorating the taxes, prorating the insurance, and things of that nature. They take care of everything for you. The disadvantages is that it's the most It's not cost efficient, it's the most expensive. So why does that matter for you and I? Well, if we're paying for the closing, then we want to make sure that we incorporate that. So the title company is the most expensive way to close, but they take care of everything for you, so it's turnkey. Now, the second type of closing is what I call your attorney's office closing. And what happens with this is that you have a professional attorney. They could be board certified, or they could not be. They may practice for example, just in real estate, okay? Like I have one attorney, he's board certified, really, really good, but he just does this one section of real estate, and he's a master of it, okay? Or you could have an attorney that maybe does business, and he does like contract drawing and LLC formations and litigation, but he also does real estate, okay? So it doesn't matter. I personally like narrow. The guy knows exactly what he's doing, but you could do any. But when you go to this guy or this lady attorney to do the closing, they don't sell title policy, okay? Because that's not what their business is. Their business is just general real estate or general law work. And so, but they're able to prep up all the contract, the subject to contract, the deed of trust, the note. They're able to make all that information for you, but they're going to charge you a lot less than these other guys, which is a title company, because it costs a lot less when you have a relationship with them. You do business with them all the time, okay? So the advantage of this one is that you may not get that prettier office, but you may. And the other advantage is you get to save money, especially if you have a relationship with this attorney, okay? Now, the third type of closing is what I call kitchen table. And basically, with that, you have to be a real estate technician. And what I mean by that is you need to be able to pull title. You got to be able to prep the deed, prep the note, prep the deed of trust, etc. Now, this requires a lot of footwork with you. I don't recommend this for my students, for amateurs, but I love doing it because it helps me know what the hell's going on with this attorney, and also helps me know what's going on with the title company, so they're not BSing and stuff like that. And I already know what the fees are when I go down to the county clerk's office to file this stuff. But The advantages is very cost efficient and it's very flexible. Like, I'll meet with the seller and we might just go to the local bank and do a notary, or we may go to a mobile notary, just come to the house and do it, okay? Now, I don't recommend the kitchen table closing for the average person, only the sharks of the sharks. And the reason is that if I was gonna do a table closing and they had significant equity, I would basically go with the attorney office instead of the title company. I wouldn't do a kitchen table. The only time that I would do a kitchen table is if they had marginal equity, okay? If they had marginal equity, I would do a kitchen table. If they had high or medium equity, I would just do it at a title company. At the attorney's office. I wouldn't go to a title company, okay? I just don't want to pay all that extra money that they charge me for the bills and whistles, where I have a relationship with my attorney. He's board certified. He does exactly this, and I send him the stuff. He sends it to me. He charges me $750 to prep everything up, all the documents. Okay, so now if you want to do this section where you do the, for example, the kitchen table closing, and you don't want to do all the work yourself, so you could outsource some of it to an attorney. For example, have them prep the deed, have them do the note, have them do the deed of trust, okay? And then he preps it to you, he sends it to you, and then you go to the seller's house and then call a mobile notary, or you go to the bank and then they prep it up, and then you go and file at the county clerk's office. This way it'll save you tons of money, but again, you have to be a real estate technician, man. You gotta know how to go to the county clerk's office, you gotta know how to file the shit, you gotta know how to deal with the HOA, so you gotta be able to do a lot of shit. I don't recommend this way, but it is an option out there. I've used it. If I'm buying significant equity, I've done it before and I had closings that were very successful, but it's just better just to let an attorney do it, okay? Now, if you're selling to a retail buyer, then I would recommend an attorney or the title company. But if you're just buying for yourself, like if I'm just buying for myself, I'm just gonna do option kitchen table, or I'll do the attorney's office. I'm not gonna pay for bills and whistles, guys. Now, something else I wanna add on there, which is pretty risky. I don't recommend it for everybody, but when I buy properties subject to, and they're cookie cutters, and let's say the guy or the lady or the seller had bought the house maybe a few years ago, or even 10, 15 years ago, and I look and I pull up the deed, or I could pay a title company to pull up the deed in the chain of command, and if it looks like clean, there's nothing encumbered in it, or there's no clouds on it, then I'm not gonna even buy fucking title policy, okay? It just doesn't make any fucking sense. And I'm about to go to closing tomorrow, knock on some wood if nothing happens wrong, but I didn't buy title policy on that when I bought it subject to. And 6 months ago or 8 months ago, I don't remember off the top of my head, I had another deal closed where I didn't buy title policy. Basically, that seller that I bought, that motivated seller that I bought his property from, he had already bought title policy, and so when I bought it to the time I sold it, I didn't get an encumbered on it or a cloud on it, so it was good. So I took the risk. I don't recommend that for you, but I just let you know that for me, I don't usually buy title policy because somebody else has already bought it, and it's just, if I do my due diligence, I don't see it, I'm gonna save myself like that $1,300, $1,500, or depends on the price of the property, because in Texas, they charge you for the price, the sales price, okay? Now, it's an option out there. I highly recommend that, if it's your first 2 deals, you shouldn't do that. But one thing that most people don't know is that even on a subject to, you can buy title policy on it, which is pretty cool, okay? When I first got into the business, I didn't realize that, okay? But yeah, you can buy title policy even as a subject to, but usually I don't buy title policy. I mean, I look at every deal and evaluate it, but majority of times I don't, okay? Because it's just a cookie cutter. Somebody bought it, they sold it to the seller, and then now I'm buying it. So, end the story. So, to recap it for you guys, there's 3 different ways to close a deal. Number 1 is to use the title company. That's the most expensive way, but it's the total turnkey solution. They'll do everything for you. You just sit there and smoke your cigar per se, okay? But it's the most expensive. And it's really good for if you're like retailing it to and buyer. I'm not going to use that to buy, okay, when I'm buying property. The number two way to use is an attorney's office that you have a relationship with, okay, and have them do it. The benefit of that is, it's fast. It's not, it doesn't take as long as these other guys, and you're probably going to be able to get half the price what a title company charges, maybe more if you have a relationship with that attorney and you're doing a lot of deals. And lastly, which is the table closing, and I only use these. I used to use it differently, but I just don't have the time to do all that work. So I would only use this if it was a marginal equity type of deal. If they had high equity, I would be using an attorney or the title company, but more than likely just an attorney to close these deals. Now, if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer it to you. Thanks for everybody watching. Let me see if anybody has any questions. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Go out there and hustle and bustle. Don't take no for an answer. Have a great night.